You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your PMP certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Determining the right project methodology is one of the most critical responsibilities of a project manager. Methodology provides the overarching framework for how work will be planned and delivered. Methods are structured ways of applying that framework, while practices are the concrete techniques used day to day. Together, these choices shape how the team collaborates, how decisions are made, and how stakeholders see progress. Selecting the wrong approach can create friction and rework, while thoughtful selection builds alignment and confidence. This is not about dogma or loyalty to one system. It is about aligning approach with the nature of the work, the environment, and the value the project is meant to deliver. The key to good methodology selection is context. Every project exists within an environment that carries a level of uncertainty and a degree of complexity. Uncertainty refers to how well scope and requirements are understood. Complexity refers to interdependencies, governance demands, or technical challenges. Projects with low uncertainty and moderate complexity often suit predictive approaches, where baselines provide stability. Projects with high uncertainty and a need for learning in short cycles often benefit from agile approaches. Many projects fall in between, where hybrid solutions are appropriate. The project manager begins by honestly diagnosing these dimensions before declaring any approach. Uncertainty can be thought of as clarity about the problem. Building a bridge to an engineered design has low uncertainty. The scope is defined and methods are proven. Designing a new mobile service in an emerging market has high uncertainty. Customer needs will shift, and technology may evolve. Complexity, on the other hand, is about scale and interconnections. A small app may be uncertain but simple. A global ERP rollout may be certain in scope but complex in scale. Both dimensions together inform the decision. Project managers who skip this assessment risk forcing the wrong methodology onto the work. Organizational context matters as much as technical context. Some industries demand compliance documentation, which means predictive elements must be included even in otherwise agile projects. Some organizations have cultures built on stage gates and formal sign-offs, while others thrive on rapid iteration and collaboration. A methodology that ignores culture and governance is likely to be resisted, no matter how well it fits technically. Sponsors also influence choice. Some want fixed forecasts and visibility into earned value, while others want incremental delivery and fast reprioritization. The project manager's role is to balance these influences into a coherent, defensible approach. Once the environment is understood, the project manager selects an overarching approach. Predictive methods are grounded in detailed upfront planning, fixed baselines, and variance analysis. Agile methods emphasize adaptive planning, collaborative decision-making, and delivery in increments. Hybrid approaches intentionally blend the two, often using predictive for compliance and governance, and agile for development and delivery. The choice should never feel arbitrary. It must be tied directly to uncertainty, complexity, culture, and sponsor expectations. Explaining why the chosen methodology was selected builds confidence and strengthens alignment with governance bodies. Transparency around this decision is itself a best practice. Methods come next. A methodology provides direction, but methods bring discipline to that direction. In predictive settings, methods such as critical path analysis, earned value management, and requirements traceability provide the structure for planning and monitoring. In agile environments, methods such as backlog refinement, velocity tracking, and iterative reviews ensure adaptation and transparency. Each method brings a structured way of seeing work and making choices. A project manager who simply declares, "We are agile" or "We are predictive," without naming and using methods risks running an approach that is vague and ineffective. Practices operationalize the chosen methods. A method like earned value requires practices such as collecting actual costs, calculating variances, and updating performance indexes. A method like backlog refinement relies on practices such as user story workshops, pointing, and acceptance criteria reviews. Practices are the visible daily or weekly routines that teams follow. They should be chosen deliberately to fit the team's maturity and the project's needs. Too many practices create bureaucracy. Too few practices create drift. Balance is the goal. The project manager's role is to set these practices thoughtfully and coach the team in applying them consistently. Team readiness influences which practices can succeed. A team experienced with Agile will embrace stand-ups, retrospectives, and velocity tracking. A team unfamiliar with iterative delivery may resist or misunderstand these rituals until trained. Similarly, a finance-heavy team may find earned value natural, while a small creative team may find it overwhelming. Practices must be introduced at the pace the team can absorb. Readiness assessments and training are part of methodology selection. Forcing practices too soon leads to frustration and resistance. Supporting adoption with coaching, mentoring, and feedback transforms practices into habits that improve performance rather than hinder it. Tailoring is the final step in this sequence. PMI stresses that tailoring is expected, not optional. Tailoring means adapting methods and practices to suit the size, risk, and constraints of the project. For example, a $10 million defense contract may require extensive procurement and risk planning. A 2-week internal pilot may need only a lightweight backlog and checklists. Tailoring is about sufficiency, enough discipline to provide visibility and governance without overloading the team with unnecessary bureaucracy. Documenting tailoring decisions demonstrates professionalism and provides rationale for auditors or governance boards later. Tailoring also requires setting guardrails. Guardrails are the boundaries that protect governance while still allowing flexibility. These might include mandatory compliance checkpoints, required quality standards, or budget approval thresholds. For example, an Agile team may use lightweight documentation, but guardrails require retaining test evidence and sign-offs. A predictive team may streamline reporting frequency, but guardrails still require variance analysis above a certain threshold. Guardrails reassure sponsors that flexibility will not devolve into chaos. They create the balance between empowerment and accountability that mature organizations demand. Without guardrails, tailoring can feel like cutting corners rather than thoughtful adjustment. The steps to making methodology choices are sequential. First, assess context uncertainty, complexity, culture, governance, and sponsor expectations. Second, select the overarching methodology: predictive, agile, or hybrid based on that context. Third, identify supporting methods that bring structure to the chosen framework. Fourth, choose concrete practices that will operationalize those methods day to day. Fifth, tailor the combination to fit the project's size, risk, and maturity, while setting guardrails to maintain governance. Following these steps in order ensures that methodology is not a matter of habit or preference, but a deliberate and defensible decision. Discipline in methodology selection pays off in credibility. A project manager who can explain, "We are using Agile for delivery because scope is uncertain, but predictive controls for compliance because regulation demands it," demonstrates maturity. Stakeholders gain confidence when choices are transparent and tied to project needs. Teams gain clarity about why they are working in a particular way. Governance bodies gain reassurance that oversight is respected. This reduces conflict and accelerates delivery. Methodology, methods, and practices are not theoretical. They are levers for trust and value. The exam frequently tests this area by presenting ambiguous situations. A project may have changing requirements, but also strict government oversight. The trap is to choose only Agile or only predictive. The correct answer is often a hybrid that respects compliance while still embracing adaptability. Another common test is the team maturity question. When teams resist practices, the wrong answer is to enforce harder. The right answer is to coach and tailor. Remembering the sequence: assess, select, method, practice Taylor helps cut through exam distractions and anchor answers in PMI's philosophy of pragmatism. Ultimately, determining methodology, methods, and practices is about fit, not faith. The project manager acts as assessor and steward, weighing uncertainty, complexity, culture, and governance. Predictive, agile, and hybrid all have their place, but none is universally right. Methods and practices give shape to the framework, while tailoring ensures appropriateness and efficiency. Guardrails preserve governance while enabling flexibility. Together, these choices create an approach that is not only exam-ready but field-ready, an approach that maximizes value while respecting organizational constraints. This is the heart of professional methodology selection and project management. Hybrid approaches deserve special attention because so many real-world projects fall between pure predictive and pure agile. A common hybrid pattern is to use predictive planning for long-range governance while executing work in short agile iterations. For example, a product development program might establish milestones, budgets, and regulatory checkpoints in a predictive structure, but teams deliver features through sprints. Another hybrid form is phased delivery, where early stages are agile to explore uncertainty, and later stages shift to predictive once scope stabilizes. PMI emphasizes that hybrids are not compromises but intentional blends, chosen to respect both uncertainty and control. Exam stems that describe compliance plus change are often signals that hybrid is the best answer. A useful way to think of hybrid is through layers. The outer layer provides structure for governance stage gates, baselines, and executive reporting. The inner layer enables adaptability backlogs, demos, and retrospectives. This layered model reassures stakeholders who need forecasts while empowering teams to adapt as they learn. Without this balance, projects swing between rigidity and chaos. The project manager must explain how the layers work together so stakeholders know when to expect predictability and when to expect flexibility. On the exam, distractors often push candidates toward one extreme. The correct answer usually blends oversight with adaptability. Some hybrid patterns emerge naturally in specific industries. Construction projects, for instance, rely heavily on predictive methods for engineering and compliance, but design teams may use agile techniques to iterate drawings or prefabricated elements. In IT infrastructure projects, predictive procurement plans coexist with agile delivery of configuration or coding. The exam often tests whether you can recognize these practical realities. If the question describes strict contractual obligations but evolving technical requirements, hybrid is usually correct. PMI's philosophy is simple. Use predictive for what must be fixed, use agile for what benefits from adaptation, and tie the two together with integration practices. Methodology choices must also align with governance expectations. Organizations operate within portfolios and programs that impose standards, reporting requirements, and decision checkpoints. A project manager who chooses Agile must still honor those governance needs, perhaps by translating backlog burndowns into milestone forecasts. A predictive project must still engage stakeholders continuously, not only at sign-offs. The art is to map chosen practices onto governance frameworks, ensuring nothing is lost in translation. On the exam, scenarios about ignoring governance test whether you understand this alignment. The correct answer emphasizes adaptation without bypassing oversight. Change management is tightly connected to methodology. In predictive projects, changes flow through formal change control boards. In agile projects, change is built into backlog reprioritization. In hybrid projects, both paths must coexist. Backlog items shift by policy, while baseline shifts require governance approval. The project manager must ensure stakeholders understand these dual tracks. Without clarity, sponsors may expect immediate changes when the baseline actually requires impact analysis. On the exam, stems about urgent sponsor requests often probe this distinction. The correct answer stresses using the right change path for the chosen methodology, not improvising. The sponsor's role must also be honored. Predictive projects expect sponsors to approve major changes, provide resources, and monitor benefits realization at milestones. Agile projects expect sponsors or product owners to engage continuously, prioritizing features and providing rapid feedback. Hybrid projects require both periodic governance involvement and ongoing collaboration. PMI emphasizes that methodology must align sponsor engagement with organizational norms. On the exam, clues about absent sponsors or unaligned expectations often signal methodology mismatch. Correct answers involve clarifying roles and ensuring the chosen approach integrates sponsor responsibilities appropriately. Let's apply this in a scenario. Imagine a healthcare project subject to strict regulatory documentation. The development team wants to use Agile to handle rapidly changing requirements, while the regulator insists on fixed documentation checkpoints. Options include rejecting Agile and going fully predictive, adopting Agile without regard to regulation, or blending the two by using Agile iterations internally but producing predictive documentation for regulators. The best choice is the hybrid: Agile for delivery, predictive for compliance. On the exam, when faced with tension between adaptability and regulation, the correct answer usually involves tailoring a hybrid to honor both needs. In another scenario, a sponsor demands certainty in cost and schedule, but stakeholders expect evolving scope. Pure predictive would lock in baselines but ignore stakeholder evolution. Pure Agile would deliver flexibility but disappoint the sponsor. The best answer is a hybrid where baselines are established for major deliverables, while iterative cycles allow scope evolution within those boundaries. This demonstrates how hybrids balance competing needs. PMI stresses that methodology is not just about process, it is about reconciling stakeholder expectations. On the exam, the correct answers often involve finding the balance, not choosing extremes. Common exam pitfalls revolve around methodology dogma. One is assuming Agile is always better for speed. Agile without governance leads to missed compliance and uncontrolled costs. Another is assuming predictive is always better for control. Predictive without adaptability leads to rework and stakeholder frustration when needs change. A third is ignoring hybrid, even though many real-world projects require it. The exam often tempts you with all-or-nothing language. The best approach is usually pragmatic. Analyze uncertainty, complexity, and governance. Then select accordingly. Candidates who remember analyze before act perform better here. Another pitfall is skipping tailoring. PMI emphasizes that every methodology must be tailored to context. Simply declaring we are Agile or we are predictive is insufficient. Without tailoring, teams either drown in unnecessary processes or miss critical governance. Tailoring requires documented rationale, so stakeholders know why practices are included or excluded. The exam often tests this by asking what to do when a team is burdened with excessive documentation. The correct answer is usually to tailor appropriately, not to abandon methodology altogether. Tailoring is about right sizing, not rejecting structure. Team maturity is another exam theme. Forcing advanced practices on an inexperienced team creates failure. PMI expects project managers to adjust practices to maturity, coaching, and training as needed. The exam may present a scenario where a team resists daily stand-ups or earned value reporting. The wrong answer is to force compliance immediately. The right answer is to coach, adapt, and gradually build discipline. Methodology is a tool for enabling performance, not a stick for enforcing conformity. Teams grow into practices, and the project manager guides that growth. Cultural mismatch is a further trap. Some organizations are deeply hierarchical, expecting formal approvals for even small changes. Others thrive on empowerment and delegation. A methodology that ignores this culture will fail. The exam may describe an agile rollout in a conservative organization and ask how to proceed. The wrong answer is to impose agile unaltered. The correct answer is to tailor practices, perhaps blending agile collaboration with predictive approvals. Culture cannot be wished away. It must be integrated into the methodology decision. PMI stresses respecting culture while nudging maturity forward. A practical quick playbook helps anchor this domain. First, assess uncertainty, complexity, governance, and culture. Second, select predictive, agile, or hybrid as the overarching approach. Third, identify methods within that approach, such as earned value or backlog refinement. Fourth, choose practices that fit team maturity and stakeholder needs. Fifth, tailor by documenting rationale and setting guardrails. Sixth, align methodology with governance and change policies, ensuring sponsors and stakeholders remain engaged appropriately. Following this playbook ensures deliberate, defensible choices. On the exam, answers echoing this structured reasoning usually align with PMI's philosophy. The value of deliberate methodology selection is that it transforms how projects deliver. A well-chosen methodology increases alignment, reduces rework, and enhances trust with stakeholders. It also positions the project manager as a thoughtful leader who balances adaptability with accountability. The exam tests not only whether you can define predictive, agile, and hybrid, but whether you can reason through scenarios to choose wisely. The message is consistent: avoid dogma, analyze context, tailor deliberately, and respect governance. Doing so makes methodology a strength, not a stumbling block in delivering business value. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.